Hi, I'm Sharon Freeman, and I'm presenting my biography on Susan M. Schneider. One of my favorite quotes from her book is ultimately knowing what drives us puts us in the driver's seat. And it's used in the preface of her book, which is called The Science of Consequences, How They Affect Genes and Change the Brain and Impact Our World. And right from that, you can kind of tell that Susan M. Schneider is not your typical behavior analyst, if there is such a thing, I guess. Her bachelor's degree was in environmental engineering and mechanical engineering, and she was a straight A student from what I could tell from her bio information that I got from LinkedIn. And then her master's is actually in mechanical engineering from Brown. And so I kind of wondered, that's not really the path that you would think that somebody who was using behavior analysis would go on. And I guess the road that she's driving on isn't really straight. And I like that about her because that's kind of where I am in my career. So the fact that she was studying something totally different and was able to see a way to incorporate behavior analysis into it is something that I find pretty admirable. Dr. Schneider's career has always been driven by her environmental activism. Currently, she's a scientist and works as a sustainability consultant for a local climate action coalition. And she states when she talks about that reinforcement principles are essential for sustainable behavior change. And her purpose for using behavior analysis in that area is to maybe change our way of behaving so that we don't damage the environment any more than it's already been. And I think she gets that from tying her environmental engineering background, her mechanical engineering background, and her background in education and psychology. Susan's main contribution to literature has been her book, The Science of Consequences, which was published in 2012. It took her 10 years to write, and she was very busy in between. The thing that really is important about her book is that it was written for the masses. And you may ask, why is that important? Well, as many of you know, behavior analysis does not have a lot of positive messages that about it that's been seen in the media. Most of it has been from people who are detractors. And so to have something out there that everyone can understand and be able to relate to is amazing. And it was so amazing that in 2015, she was awarded the Effective Presentation of Behavior Analysis and Mass Media Award, and which is very impressive. And she's done interviews. She presents herself, and I hate to say it like this, but a pop psychology informational type interviewer. We'll see a little bit of an interview that she did in the next slide, but and she also does speaker conferences. She also does a lot of reviews of different other literature. One is that she did was a common goal for science and practice of behavior analysis, a response to Crutchfield, who had written about how there's a difference between the science of behavior analysis and the people who do that versus the people who use the applied behavior analysis, such as people who are BCBAs. And part of the gist of her paper was that we really need to work together so that the people in the field become aware of what is going on in the research so they can make sure that they're using the most up-to-date strategies. And I think that's a really big contribution. when I was looking into Susan Schneider and why she's, um, and I'd never heard of behavior analysis. I'd taken a class, theory of learning. We talked about Skinner. We talked about conditioning. We talked about various different, reinforcements, etc. But behavior analysis wasn't anything that was discussed in my class. So I found this clip on YouTube and I thought it was good. So let's listen to it of how her interest in behavior analysis was born.
This should be the one. So that's the term, the whole person's life on the
So that was pretty interesting because 1978, she was in high school. Um, so back to 1978. So we got to see how Susan Schneider got introduced into behaviorism and how she became friends with B.F. Skinner. I find Susan Schneider to be really interesting subject matter, and I enjoyed doing some research on her, and I look forward to meeting her at the conference coming up in March. Thanks.